Welcome to While We Were Distracted, the podcast where we explore topics that often get overshadowed in the rush of daily life.
We're back.
It's funny how the source material reframes the concept of the devil. They actually tie it back to the idea of heaven and hell, which they also have a unique take on.
Okay, heaven and hell, those are two concepts that have definitely sparked a few debates over the years.
Yeah.
What's their perspective? Do they believe in a literal heaven and hell?
Not exactly. They suggest that rather than being physical destinations we ascend to or get banished from after we die, heaven and hell are actually states of consciousness we experience right here, right now.
Interesting. So less about location, more about what's going on internally.
Exactly. They describe heaven as a state of expanded awareness, a deep connection to our true nature, and an experience of, and I'm quoting here, profound peace, love, and joy.
Sounds like my kind of place,
Yeah.
even if it's not an actual place.
Right. And they argue that hell, on the other hand, isn't about fire and brimstone, but rather the separation, fear, and suffering we experience when we're disconnected from that true divine nature within us.
So it's not about being punished for our sins in some afterlife realm. They're suggesting we experience the consequences of our choices and actions right here, right now, on an internal level.
Precisely. They believe we create our own heaven or hell through the thoughts we think, the actions we take, the energy we put out into the world.
That's a powerful reminder that we have far more agency over our experiences than we often realize. We're not just leaves blowing in the wind of fate. But this idea of heaven and hell as states of mind rather than physical places, it's a pretty common thread in a lot of spiritual traditions, isn't it?
It is, and this source takes it a step further by connecting it to the human body specifically, the head and the heels.
The head and the heels. Okay, now I'm picturing some kind of cosmic game of footsie going on here.
Right. It's an interesting image. They believe that our heads, specifically the pineal gland nestled in the center of our brains, represent a connection point to the heavens, to these higher realms of consciousness.
So it's like our pineal glands are little satellite dishes picking up signals from the divine.
That's a great way to put it. And they believe that by activating the pineal gland, which, as you might remember, is a key player in this whole Christ oil journey, we can strengthen that connection and access these higher states of awareness.
Like we're tuning in to a higher frequency, one that's been broadcasting this whole time, but we've just been tuned to the wrong channel. But if our heads are the connection to the heavens, what do our heels represent?
They see the heels, being the lowest part of our physical bodies, as the point of connection to the earth, to the physical realm.
So it's like we're this bridge between heaven and earth, constantly navigating the tension between our spiritual aspirations and our very real grounded experience here in the material world.
That's the dance, isn't it? And they argue that finding that balance between these seemingly opposite forces, head and heel, spirit and matter, heaven and earth, is key to living a harmonious and fulfilling life.
It's about integrating those seemingly opposing forces, recognizing that they're not actually in opposition, but rather two sides of the same coin.
Precisely. And this integration, as we've talked about before, is a crucial part of activating the Christ oil and stepping into our full potential. It's about embracing the fullness of who we are, spiritual and material, grounded and limitless, and recognizing that our journey unfolds not just in our minds, but in every cell of our bodies, from the crown of our heads to the soles of our feet.
That's a beautiful image, the idea that every part of us, from our heads to our heels, plays a role in this grand adventure of being human. Now, this might be a good time to address something that some listeners might be wondering about. We've been throwing around a lot of terms that might sound pretty out there to people who are new to this world. Christ oil, chakras, vibrational frequencies, even the idea of accessing higher realms.
Right, and it's understandable that some people might be hesitant, even a little skeptical. And that's okay.
Exactly. We're not here to tell you what to believe or to present this as some kind of definitive roadmap to spiritual enlightenment. We're just two curious folks digging into some fascinating material and inviting you to come along for the ride.
Think of it like trying on different lenses. You don't have to commit to wearing them all the time, but it can be interesting to see the world from a new perspective.
I like that. It's about expanding our horizons, opening up to different possibilities. And who knows, we might just discover something new about ourselves along the way. Speaking of new perspectives, this source material also talks about the elements earth, air, fire, and water, and how they connect to our inner world. What's their take on that ancient concept?
Well, they believe that these elements aren't just external forces of nature, but that they also exist within each of us, shaping our personalities, emotions, even our spiritual experiences.
So it's like we each have our own unique elemental cocktail. A little bit of fire, a splash of water, a dash of earth. What's your recipe? Feeling like a fire sign today.
Huh. I think I might be a bit more of an earth-air blend myself. But that's the beauty of it. We each have our own unique elemental makeup. And the source suggests that by understanding this balance within ourselves, we can unlock a deeper understanding of our strengths, challenges, and purpose.
That's interesting. So it's like the elements are another lens through which to view ourselves and our place in the world. But how do they suggest we figure out our own personal elemental blend? Are we supposed to go consult an alchemist?
They actually encourage a multifaceted approach, self-reflection, paying attention to what resonates with us, and looking at ancient traditions like astrology, alchemy, and traditional Chinese medicine, all of which have systems for understanding the elements.
So it's about piecing together clues from different sources, both internal and external, to gain a more complete understanding of ourselves.
Exactly, and they believe this knowledge can be incredibly empowering. By understanding our elemental balance, we can work with our strengths, harmonize our weaknesses, and ultimately live more fulfilling lives.
It's about becoming conscious co-creators of our own lives.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling like we're at the mercy of these elemental forces, we can learn to dance with them.
That's the idea. And this idea of conscious co-creation ties into their perspective on the ethereal plane, which they discuss quite a bit.
Okay, the ethereal plane. Now we're wading into some deep esoteric waters. What exactly do they mean by that? Are we talking about a different dimension, a parallel universe?
It's not quite as clear-cut as that, but they seem to believe the ethereal plane is this subtle energy field that both surrounds and interpenetrates our physical world.
So like an invisible web of energy connecting everything.
Exactly, and they suggest that this ethereal plane is actually the source of all creation, the realm from which thoughts and ideas emerge before they manifest into the physical.
It's like the quantum field, the realm of infinite possibilities that we're constantly interacting with, whether we're aware of it or not.
Right, and they believe that by tapping into the ethereal plane, we can actually influence the manifestation of our desires and intentions.
So it's not just about wishful thinking or hoping for the best. They're claiming we can actively shape our reality by interacting with this ethereal plane.
That's what they seem to believe. And they suggest that practices like meditation, visualization, and energy work can help us attune ourselves to the subtle realm and harness its creative potential.
Okay, that's both incredibly empowering and a little daunting, wouldn't you say?
It definitely suggests that we have far more influence over our lives and even the world around us than we typically realize. And with that awareness comes a certain responsibility, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, which is a thread this source picks up on as well. They seem to be advocating for a conscious and ethical approach to working with these subtle energies. It's not just about personal gain or manifesting $1 million. It's about using this knowledge for the greater good.
Exactly. They believe that as we awaken to our true nature as spiritual beings, we naturally develop greater empathy, compassion, and a sense of responsibility for the well-being of all.
It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected to each other, to the planet, to the cosmos, and that our actions, thoughts, even our intentions have ripple effects that extend far beyond what we can often perceive.
Precisely. And they suggest that as more and more individuals awaken to this truth, we can collectively create a more harmonious and loving world for all.
Now that's a future worth striving for. Okay, before we get too lost in this vision of a utopian future, let's bring it back down to earth for a moment and address something that's bound to raise a few eyebrows, the source material's exploration of the flat earth concept. Now, before anyone hits the unsubscribe button, let's clarify something right off the bat. They're not talking about a literal flat earth.
Right. It's important to make that distinction. This source is all about symbolism, and their interpretation of the flat earth is no exception. They see it as a metaphor for the limitations of our own perception and the importance of questioning everything we think we know.
Okay, so it's more about expanding our minds and challenging limiting beliefs than it is about arguing about the shape of our planet.
Exactly. They believe that the flat earth metaphor encourages us to think outside the box, to question the narratives we've been fed, and to be open to alternative perspectives on reality.
So it's about embracing a more critical and discerning approach to knowledge, rather than blindly accepting what we're told, which, let's be honest, is something we could all probably benefit from in this day and age, don't you think?
I would have to agree. With the amount of information and misinformation flying around these days, cultivating a healthy sense of skepticism is more important than ever.
Right. We can't just take everything at face value. We have to be willing to do our own research, to think for ourselves, to come to our own conclusions. But it's not just about being skeptical. It's about being open-minded, right?
Mhm.
Open to the possibility that there might be more to reality than meets the eye.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between healthy skepticism and open-minded curiosity. And that's something the source emphasizes throughout the importance of balancing seemingly opposing forces.
It's a recurring theme, isn't it? The head and the heels, heaven and earth, even the masculine and feminine energies, which they also dedicate quite a bit of space to discussing. What's their take on that timeless dance between the masculine and the feminine?
Well, they emphasize that these energies aren't limited to gender or biology. They believe these are fundamental forces that exist within all of creation and within each of us. They describe the masculine as a force of action, expansion, and outward expression, while the feminine is characterized by receptivity, nurturing, and inward focus.
So it's like the yin and yang, two sides of the same coin, each essential for the other's existence.
Precisely. And they stress that neither energy is superior to the other. They're both equally valuable and necessary for creating a harmonious and balanced existence.
But that we've gotten a little out of whack, haven't we? At least here in the West, there's been a heavy emphasis on the masculine for, well, centuries.
That's true, and the source material suggests that many of the challenges we face, both personally and collectively, stem from this imbalance. Too much emphasis on the masculine can lead to aggression, a disconnect from our emotions and intuition, even a disregard for the natural world.
And on the other hand, an overemphasis on the feminine without that grounding masculine energy can lead to passivity, lack of boundaries,
Yeah.
difficulty asserting ourselves in the world. It's about finding that sweet spot, that dynamic equilibrium where both energies can thrive and express themselves fully. But how do we actually do that? How do we find that balance both within ourselves and in a world that often seems so out of balance?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The source suggests that it starts with awareness, recognizing these energies within ourselves, and noticing where we might be out of balance.
So it's about becoming conscious of those patterns and behaviors, both within ourselves and in the world around us, that might be perpetuating these imbalances.
Exactly. And then, from that place of awareness, we can start to make different choices. It might look like cultivating more mindfulness in our daily lives, setting healthy boundaries, speaking our truth with compassion, or even just spending more time in nature, reconnecting with the rhythms of the earth.
It's about becoming more conscious of the energy we're putting out into the world and making choices that are in alignment with that harmonious balance we're seeking.
Precisely. And they believe that as more and more of us start to embody this balance, it creates a ripple effect, shifting the collective consciousness towards greater harmony.
So it's not just about fixing ourselves, but about contributing to the healing of the planet and the evolution of our species. It's a pretty tall order, but someone's got to do it, right?
That's one way to look at it. And this source seems to believe that we, as humans in this day and age, have a unique responsibility to step up to the plate.
Because we're at a pivotal point in human history.
That seems to be their perspective. They talk about this time period as being a time of great awakening and transformation, where more and more people are waking up to their true nature and their potential to create a better world.
It's like we're waking up from a collective dream and realizing that we're not just passive bystanders in the unfolding of reality, but active participants with the power to shape our own destiny, both individually and collectively. And that this Christ oil, this mysterious substance, might just be a key part of that awakening.
That's a great way to put it. And on that note of collective awakening, let's take a pause here and pick up the thread in part 3, where we'll dive into their intriguing perspectives on ancient civilizations, hidden history, and the power of symbolism to unlock the secrets of our past, present, and future.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for the next episode on While We Were Distracted.